Hello, hello, Jeff Helvin here with Ballen Brands, and today I wanted to show you some of the elements of Elementor, which is the design builder we use on our professional and real estate websites that we build on WordPress. So I'm logged in right now to my WordPress admin, which gives me this little admin bar up here. So I can go to any page, let's say the home page in this case. I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit with Elementor. Okay, what this does is reloads the page in a view that we can see as it loads here on the right hand side, and then we've got this little kind of control panel over on the left. Now there's actually quite a lot going on over here on the left hand side, so I like to kind of point out a few of these little details just to kind of help navigate things a little bit better. Okay, so first we have, by default, it's going to pull up our kind of our design elements on the page. So I can drag over a video, I can add a button. I mean, these are all of my widgets that I'm able to use. I can actually save favorites as well, which is kind of nice. So if there's a few certain ones that you always like to use that are at the top, because as you can see, there's quite a bit to navigate down here. So it is a good idea to kind of pick out maybe your favorites and go ahead and do that. And you'll see here it says, for easy access, favorite the widget you use most often by right-clicking and add to favorites. So if I right-click, I can just simply add to favorites, so I can have my my favorites up here. I can also search the widgets as well. So if I know I wanted to do a video, I could start to type in video, and it'll pull up. There's a media carousel, Facebook embed, all these different things that I can do that might be related to videos or that have vid in it, like divider in this case. So these are our different options here that we have to work with. So that's a nice feature. Again, we have all of our elements over here on the left, these widgets. I can actually toggle those, so I can close the basic and leave my favorites open. I can, these are the pro options. So if you have any of the websites that we build for you, you do have pro because you have access to our license that we install for you. There's some general ones, so you kind of see all that. Podcasting specific ones, single page things. I mean, there's a lot of different options to navigate, and that will be in a separate video. But anyway, so this is kind of our, like I said, our default of what we have set up here in for layouts and designing things on the page itself. Now, down here at the bottom, we actually have some additional tools. So we have just general settings. So if I click on that, these would be settings on the page. So in this case, it'd be like the page title that shows up maybe when I actually publish the page, or if I bookmark the page, right, that's going to be the title. Then we have the status here, so I can kind of change the status on the fly of this particular page. I wouldn't want to do that on the home page, of course, because that would take that down. Do we want to hide the title or show it? So if I want to show the title, we can have that. Now this, sometimes it'll depend on your theme. So in here, like it even tells you it's not working, you can set a different selector for the title in the site settings layout. So other options here, and then page layout, am I using a full width one, a canvas one, the theme specific one? So again, that might look different in each person's install based on what theme you're using and so forth, but these are the actual general settings of the page itself. So that's down here on the bottom left. Then we have this navigator option. So sometimes it may not be clear what we're actually editing. So for example, I can click here, and this little navigator window will show us, like, we've got a section up top, another section, then we're in this third section that has a column and a heading, and then these are the posts. So maybe I want to change the heading on this one. I can actually click heading, and it's going to change over here to that particular thing here. Now I can hit posts, and I can, this is, how many posts do I want to show up and so forth. So it gives us kind of a quick edit option, right, to kind of dig in and see where those are. Now I've got like kind of a practice page up, like a draft page, so this isn't a true reflection of our current homepage, but this gives you an example of what you can kind of dig into and get down to the actual basics of each of these, so that it might be a little easier. Now a lot of times I can just simply click on them here, again, depending on your themes, and it'll populate over here, but it just gives you kind of a good idea on kind of how things are laid out there. Then I also have history, so I can actually click on history, and I can go back to revert back to certain things. So let's say I've done like 3 or 4 changes and I'm like, oh, I didn't really like that last change. It's not looking right. So I can actually go back and to the original version of what I just did, and it'll change, kind of back, almost like an edit undo type of option as well, which, by the way, edit undo does work also. So if I just wanted to change that, and maybe I wanted to undo that, I can still do the Command Z and do an undo as well. Ultimately, it's using this history of what what status I want to do. All right, then there's also this responsive mode, which is really cool. So I can click on responsive mode, and it pulls up this little bar up here to kind of show you how things are going to look. So I can click on tablet to see how things are going to look on a tablet. How do they lay out? I can click on mobile to see how they're going to look more on a phone. So it's a nice way to kind of see how things go, and I can make adjustments to them based on based on what they look like. So let's say I do this and I'm like, oh, I don't really like now that it's, 3 in a row, how that is. So I'm going to go ahead and make it, 2 columns instead of 2 posts per page instead of 3, and kind of see how that lays out. Now I can also change, let's change this to 2 columns. We'll change this to 3 columns. So you see how this now goes to 3 columns? So I can actually change it on the mobile version, or on the tablet version, to be 3 columns as well, if I thought that was going to be a good look. But in this case, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 2 columns. But then when I go to desktop and I click on it, you'll see it's 3 columns. So it actually allows me to control each of the individual layouts if something's not looking quite right. I have a lot of flexibility and control over all that, which is a really cool feature. So that's in your responsive mode. And then I can also just click on preview changes. So that's going to basically just show me what I'm looking at. It does a little pop-up window. In this case, I had my pop-ups blocked, so I had to click that little link. But then it just shows me what is this going to look like when I publish it, okay, without the sidebar and things squished and everything else. So that's a really nice way to kind of take a look at basically what you're doing, right, and what that's going to look like there. Now I also have the update. When I click the green update, that does actually go ahead and publish the page and updates what I'm doing. If you don't want to do that, you want to come back to it, it's actually a little arrow right here where I can click on save options. So that makes it a little nicer too. So I can save it as a draft, or I can even save it as a template that I want to use for other pages later. So it's a good thing to know, because sometimes we get halfway through and we're like, oh, it's not really where I want it, but I do want to save it, come back to it, and so forth. So you can do that instead of just clicking update and actually publishing a half-done page live. You can choose that save draft or save as template, which is a really nice feature as well. And then lastly in this panel, this kind of left-hand pane over here, you can see I can kind of close it and open it too if I needed to see that. But up here on the top left, this is where I can actually click on, and it goes to the more top level things. So not just specific to the page, but more, the actual site settings themselves. So if you'll see, I'll click on site settings, global font colors and types and buttons and what these different things look like, the site identity, where I change the logo, things like that. So you'll see a lot of things that are more based on like the overall template, like the things that are applied to all pages of the website, not just specific, things to just the page itself. Okay, so that's site settings. Then we have, let that kind of reload. It's checking to see if there's any changes there. Theme builder, user preferences. Okay, these are different things. Again, what do we want to happen when people come to the site, and different things that are more affected by the overall. So if we think everyone's coming from mobile, we can actually have the default view be mobile while we're editing and doing things like that. So a lot of different preferences and things that we can manage here, which is really nice. Yoast SEO, if you have certain plugins, you might find those pop in here as well, because Yoast works directly with Elementor and allows us to make these changes in here, which is nice. And then we've view the page, look at the finder. So a lot of different little options here. And then on the top right is how we get back to our widgets. That's what pulls up that original widget. So definitely practice, look around. It really helps to get a little more familiar with these different tools. So again, you've got your widgets to use on the page itself. You've got your specific settings and history and responsiveness and all that stuff that's, again, specific to the page. And then up here on the top left, that little menu here has more of the global site settings, like your logos and colors and things of that nature as well. So if you have any questions on that, by all means, please reach out to us at team@ballenbrands.com.